Hi, welcome back to Master Your Science. We are continuing with the Master Your Chemistry series, and in this session we'll be looking at topic 8, which is the periodic table. We last covered topic 2, which is atoms, elements and compounds, and these two topics are closely linked, so you can find the link to the previous topic in the comment section below, and you can also check out the whole playlist for Master Your Chemistry. Let's dive right into topic 8, the periodic table. 8.1 is arrangement of elements, and according to the IGCSE Chemistry syllabus for examination from 2026 to 2028, by the end of this topic you should be able to describe the periodic table as an arrangement of elements in periods and groups and in order of increasing proton or atomic number. Describe the change from metallic to non-metallic character across a period. Describe the relationship between the group number and the charge of the ions formed from elements in that group. Explain similarities in the chemical properties of elements in the same group of the periodic table in terms of their electronic configuration. Explain how the position of an element in the periodic table can be used to predict its properties. And number 6, identify trends in groups given information about the elements. Alright, so first question, which statements describe the periodic table? So all these questions are taken from past exam papers or specimen papers. So it says, which statements describe the periodic table? Number 1 says the elements are arranged in order of their nucleon number. Number 2 says the elements are arranged in order of their proton number. Number 3 says it is used to predict the properties of elements. So which statements describe the periodic table? Number 1 is incorrect because number 1 says the elements are arranged in order of their nucleon number, so this is incorrect. Number 2 says the elements are arranged in order of their proton number. This is correct. And number 3 says it is used to predict the properties of elements. Yes, we can predict the properties of elements by their position on the periodic table. So this is also correct. So that makes 2 and 3 the correct answers. So C is the correct answer here. And the next question says, part of the periodic table is shown. Which element has 2 electrons in its outer shell and 3 electron shells? So 2 electrons in its outer shell and 3 electron shells. So the number of electrons in the outer shell gives us the group number. So if there are 2 electrons in the outermost shell, that means that element would be in group 2. So the number of electrons in the outermost shell of an element is the same as its group number. Then the number of electron shells will be equal to the period number. So there are 3 electron shells, which means this element is in period 3. So we want an element that is in group 2 of the periodic table and in period 3. So that makes the correct answer here, C. Right. The next question here says magnesium, calcium, and strontium are group 2 elements. Complete table 2.1 to show the electronic configuration of a calcium atom. So calcium, if we look at the periodic table, calcium has proton number 20, which means it is the element would also have 20 electrons. Since an element is neutral, the number of protons will equal the number of electrons. So we have 20 electrons, and distributing these electrons, the first shell will be filled up with 2, the second shell will be filled up with 8, the third shell another 8, and the last shell will have 2 electrons. So it's a group 2 element, so it will definitely have 2 electrons in its outermost shell. But if we also look at the total number of electrons after we've put in our electronic configuration, we can see that we've got 20 electrons. Alright, next question says, describe how the electronic configuration of a strontium atom is similar to the electronic configuration of a calcium atom. So it's similar because it has the same number of electrons, which is 2 in the outermost shell. So that's how the electronic configuration is similar. Then different from the electronic configuration of the calcium atom. So what would be different is that they'll have different number of occupied electron shells because they are in different periods. So different number of occupied electron shells. Strontium has 1 more occupied electron shell. And then state how many occupied electron shells there are in a bromine atom. So there are 4. Bromine is in period 4. Then name the noble gas which has the same electronic configuration as a Br- ion. So that would be krypton, which is in the same period as the bromide ion, because bromine will just gain an electron to fill its outermost shell, so it will have the same electronic configuration as the noble gas that is in the same period as it is. Now the elements oxygen and sulfur are in the same group of the periodic table. Which statement about oxygen and sulfur is not correct? So we need to identify the incorrect statement. So the first statement says they are non-metals. This is a correct statement. And it says they have giant covalent structures. That is incorrect. Then the third statement says they have 6 electrons in the outer electron shells of their atoms. That is correct because they're group 6 elements. And then D says they react together to form an acidic oxide, and that is correct. So the correct answer here is B. Right, section 8.2, group 1, properties. According to the IGCSE Chemistry syllabus for examination from 2026 to 2028, by the end of this topic, you should be able to describe group 1 alkali metals, lithium, sodium, and potassium as relatively soft metals with general trends down the group limited to A, decreasing melting point, B, increasing density, C, increasing reactivity. And number 2, predict the properties of other elements in group 1 given the information about the elements. So let's note here already the trend would be decreasing melting point down the group, increasing density as we go down the group, and increasing reactivity as we go down the group. So which statement about elements in group 1 or group 7 of the periodic table is correct? It says bromine reacts with potassium chloride to produce chlorine. So chlorine is more reactive than bromine, so bromine cannot displace chlorine, so that makes that statement incorrect. Then iodine is a monatomic nonmetal, so that is incorrect. Lithium has a higher melting point than potassium, so we said the melting point decreases as we go down the group, so that would make that statement correct. Then sodium is more reactive with water than potassium, so reactivity increases down the group, so that makes that statement incorrect. So the correct answer here would be C. Then next question says elements in group 1 and group 2 show the same trends in their reactions with water and in their density. Which row shows how the properties of barium compare with calcium? And so barium is further down the group compared to calcium. So reactivity increases as you go down the group. So that means the reaction should be faster. So that makes C and D incorrect. And then we know that the density increases as we go down the group, so the density will be higher as well, so that makes A the correct answer. And this next question says magnesium, calcium, strontium, and barium are group 2 elements. Group 2 elements follow the same trends in reactivity as group 1 elements. Which statements about group 2 elements are correct? So if you've noticed, we're talking for this topic is looking at group 1 properties, but most of the questions are actually asking you about group 2, but they're telling you that they show the same trends as group 1. So if you know how group 1 trends are, you should then know how group 2 trends are. So the same trends apply to the group 2 elements here. So which statements about group 2 elements are correct? Calcium reacts faster than magnesium with water. So we said that reactivity increases as we go down the group, and calcium is further down the group compared to magnesium, which means it will react faster. So that makes that statement correct. Then number 2 says barium reacts less vigorously than magnesium with dilute acid. So barium is further down the group compared to magnesium, so barium would actually react more compared to magnesium because it has greater reactivity. So that makes that statement incorrect. Then strontium oxidizes in air more slowly than barium. So strontium is before barium as we're going down the group, so barium is more reactive compared to strontium. So that makes statement number 3 correct. So our answer would be 1 and 3 are the correct statements, so that makes C the correct answer. Then this next section is group 7 properties, and according to the IGCSE Chemistry syllabus for examination from 2026 to 2028, by the end of this topic you should be able to do the following. 1. Describe the group 7 halogens, that is chlorine, bromine, and iodine, as diatomic nonmetals with general trends down the group limited to increasing density and decreasing reactivity. And number 2, state the appearance of halogens at room temperature and pressure as chlorine, a pale yellow-green gas, bromine, a red-brown liquid, and iodine, a gray-black solid. And number 3, describe and explain the displacement reactions of halogens with other halide ions. And number 4, predict the properties of other elements in group 7 given information about the elements. So the halogens are a group of elements in the periodic table. Chlorine is a member of this group. State the group number of the halogens. So that would be group 7. Then state how many halogens there are in the group. So if we check this section here of the periodic table we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 halogens in the group. So we've got 6. Then give the color and state of iodine at room temperature and pressure. So iodine is gray-black and is a solid at room temperature. And chlorine, bromine, and iodine are elements in group 7 of the periodic table. Which statement about these elements is correct? 1. The color gets lighter down the group. That's incorrect. The density decreases down the group. That is also incorrect. They are all gases at room temperature and pressure. That is incorrect. They are all nonmetals. That is correct. So D would be the correct answer. Then Next question says, suggest the identity of the halogen which has the highest density. So we say the density increases as we go down the group. So the one with the highest density would be tennessine. And then is the most reactive. Reactivity decreases as we go down the group, which means reactivity actually increases as we go up the group. So the most reactive would be fluorine. Then D says state the name of the negative ions, that is anions formed by halogens, so that's halide. Then next question says tennessine is at the bottom of group 7 of the periodic table. What are the predicted properties of tennessine at room temperature? So we know that iodine, which is before tennessine, is a gray-black solid, which means tennessine has to also be a solid at room temperature. So if we look at our answers, that makes C and D incorrect. So now that so that eliminates C and D, and then we know that the density increases as we go down the group and the reactivity decreases as we go down the group. So that means tennessine would be less reactive compared to iodine. So that makes B an incorrect statement, and that leaves us with A, which is a correct answer. Then some information about an element from group 7 of the periodic table is shown. So the melting point is -7, the boiling point is 59. So if it melts below room temperature, that means at room temperature it has to be solid, as it boils well above room temperature as well. So we want an element from group 7 which is a solid at room temperature. So that gives us iodine there as the correct answer. Then the next question says fluorine is the element at the top of group 7 of the periodic table. Which statement describes? The next question says fluorine is the element at the top of group 7 of the periodic table. Which statement describes fluorine? First statement says it is inert. This is incorrect. Second statement says it is monatomic. That's incorrect. It's diatomic. Third statement says it is non-metallic. So that's correct. It's a non-metal. Then D says it is a solid at room temperature. So that is incorrect. Fluorine is a gas at room temperature. So the correct answer here is C. Section 8.4, transition elements. According to the IGCSE Chemistry syllabus for examination from 2026 to 2028, by the end of this topic, you should be able to describe the transition elements as metals that have high densities, have high melting points, form colored compounds, often act as catalysts as elements and in compounds. Describe transition elements as having ions with variable oxidation numbers, including ion 2 and ion 3. This question says oxidified potassium dichromate 6 is used to oxidize ethanol. The ionic equation for the reaction is shown. Which properties of transition elements are shown by chromium in this reaction? So you can see that chromium on the left hand side has an oxidation number of 6, of +6, as we can see from there in that bracket. We don't have to work it out. We can just see from there. And then on the right hand side it has an oxidation number of +3. So it changed from 6 to 3. So that means it has a variable oxidation number. And then a catalyst should be unchanged at the end of the reaction. So it should be regenerated at the end of the reaction. But in this case, as we can see, we haven't regenerated our potassium dichromate, so the chromium here has changed oxidation numbers, so we haven't regenerated it, so it's not acting as a catalyst in this case. So that means we eliminate A and B, and we eliminate D, and our correct answer is C. Then this question says copper is a transition element. It is variable oxidation states. State 2 are the chemical properties of transition elements which make them different from group 1 elements. So they form colored compounds and they act as catalysts. In section 8.5, noble gases. By the end of this topic, you should be able to describe the group 8 noble gases as unreactive monatomic gases and explain this in terms of electronic configuration. This question says, which statement about the noble gases is correct? Noble gases are diatomic molecules. We've just said they are monatomic, so that's incorrect. Noble gases are reactive. No, noble gases are unreactive, so that's incorrect. Noble gases have full outer electron shell, so this is correct, and this is the reason why they are unreactive. And then D says noble gases are found on the left-hand side of the periodic table, so this is incorrect. And the next question says, answer the following questions using only the substances from the list. Each substance may be used once, more than once, or not at all. So it says, state which substance is monatomic. So that has to be a noble gas element. And if we look at our list, only helium there would be a noble gas. So helium is monatomic. So that brings us to the end of this session. I hope you found it beneficial. Please put in the comments and let me know what you'd like to see improved, what else you would want to see in these videos, and subscribe, like, and share, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. Thank you. Bye. This question says, which row describes the properties of a typical transition element? So we know that the melting points are high, so that eliminates C and D. Variable oxidation number, yes, we know that they have variable oxidation numbers, so that eliminates A. Therefore, the correct answer is B. High melting point, variable oxidation number, and can act as a catalyst. Next question says, which row shows the properties of a transition element? So we know that transition elements can act as catalysts, so that eliminates C and D. Transition elements form colored compounds, and transition elements are metals, so they have good electrical conductivity, so that eliminates B, so the correct answer is A. And this question says, copper is a transition element. Some physical and chemical properties of transition elements are shown. Physical properties: high density, high strength. Chemical properties: form colored compounds, have ions with variable oxidation numbers. And number 1 says, state one other physical property of transition elements. So we've already been told they have high densities, they have got high strength. We need one other physical property, so that would be high melting points. Then state one other chemical property of transition elements. So From the question, we've been told they form colored compounds and they have ions with variable oxidation state. So the other chemical property that hasn't been mentioned is that they can act as catalysts.